Narayanam namaskritam naram chaiva danottamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayotirat nashtapriyashu bhadresu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati tamashoki bhaktir bhavati naistaki Nigamakaparu garitam param shukamakaram itadravi samyitam pivata bhagatam rasham arayam mahorahora shikabubhigaham Krishna swadamapagate dhamigini karonashta dvishamasha paranako dunoditaham Kamapiadavishuta vishutam vipusamapiadena vidambiruttaram prakyahiduho maridam sankleshana banamusanti nanyadam Takvasharanam charanam bhujam hare bhajana pakpatapatad yada yatrakavabuddhamutushim kuvartatam bhajatam shadamataham Om Aganati Marandasya Garangana Saraka Chaksurun Miritam Yanatashmahi Sri Gurave Maham Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yanabhutare Swayam Rupa Karamayam Tarati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siratarak Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsta Sri Rupam Sagaratam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Larita Shivishakan Vitam Stam Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Sarasati Devi Guru Anipacharine Nivashesa Sanyvari Paskata Desarani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Thank you for joining us on Wisdom Wednesday. Ram Kishore, William Griffith from LA, Vai Bobby from the other side of this wall that I'm on here right now. Appreciate you all jumping in on the call. If you were here yesterday, we had a great time. We did a straightforward, no embellishments, nothing new, same story that we've heard 100,000 times before, but we churned it once again. It's like you can't churn milk once and get butter. You have to churn it repeatedly before the essence of the milk arises, the butter. And so, Nashta Prayashu Padresu Nitya Bhagavata Bhagavati Tamashuki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki. We can't just hear occasionally or intermittently or just when you feel like it. When we think, oh, I've heard that story 100 times before, and we listen to it anyway with attentiveness and appreciation that there are so many other living beings who don't have this opportunity. And I am uniquely gifted, uniquely blessed and favored to be able to hear in the chain of disciplic succession from the realized spiritual masters, beginning with Jagat Guru, the Lord himself. Then one makes spiritual advancement by leaps and bounds. For my own sake, I had a chance not only to tell this story in the morning to y'all, but also we had a gathering after Arti in the evening with the devotees and the volunteers. Excuse me, I think I'm going to sneeze here. Okay. And I got to tell the story a second time. And then also Anudama Prabhu, a GBC from the East Coast and a good friend of ours. He's our unofficial GBC. His wife Rukmini accompanied him. She said, "Is Anudama really your GBC?" And I said, well, inasmuch as we've installed him in our hearts as the GBC, he is, because he's made multiple visits to Utah, shown great support and consideration and care for all the devotees here. So we're always glad when Anudama comes into the area, and we're especially blessed on this occasion because his wife Rukmini accompanied him as well. He gave the talk last night in Salt Lake City. I got to listen to a good portion of that on Facebook Live, and it was also wonderful. So I hope that you're all feeling the lift, the boost that always comes from acknowledging, honoring, and pleasing Lord Nrsingadev, the half-man, half-lion incarnation of the Lord who protects his devotees. Good morning, Natasha. I hope you're going to come Friday, because I was trying to edit the website for the June 12th Festival of Colors and put in the schedule of yoga teachers and performers, and some or other I got the HTML messed up and it all disappeared. And so when on the website you click for yoga schedule, stage schedule, I even lost the map. So I'm hoping that you can bail me out here from my faux pas. Anyway, I'll be reaching out to you on Friday. Help! On Monday, we started on this verse, the 14th verse in the 5th chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, as you know, we had an interlude where we acknowledged and told the story of Nrsingadev and Prahlad Maharaj. Now we're back to this verse for our second session. Tato Nyata Kinchana. Good morning, Govinda Dev, as well. Thank you. He says, Anutama Prabhu Ki Jai. I'll second that. Tato Nyata Kinchana Yad Vivakshata. I also have Rob with me. Did you go last night, Rob, to the festival in Salt Lake City?
I did. It was a wonderful experience to be associated with so many devotees, and the energy was pretty wonderful.
How many people would you say attended on a Tuesday night?
Very good at estimating, maybe 100 people.
How many?
80 to 100.
You're breaking up. I'm missing a lot of your words.
Maybe 80 people.
80 people on a Tuesday night. That's some sort of a record for a Tuesday night, except for Janmashtami or Diwali. That's good. That's good.
I'd be over exaggerating, but that's what it felt like to me.
And Anudama gave a good talk, didn't he?
Absolutely. That was a wonderful story. I really appreciated hearing about that.
Anudama always has a great esprit and a sense of humor. It's a delight to listen to him. And I think Radhika Raman also joined on that occasion as well. So it was an assembly of luminaries up there in Salt Lake City. Okay, to the business at hand here now on Wisdom Wednesday, WW. Tato Nyata Kinchana Yad Vivakshara Pitagdvishash Natkrita Rupa Namabihi Nakari Chit Kwapi Chadushtitamati Labeta Vatahata Neri Vashvanam. Whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different names, forms, and results to agitate the mind as the wind agitates a boat that has no resting place. And to bring you up to speed from Monday, we touched on this verse from the 4th chapter of the Bible. Akarmani akarmani apashara karmani cha saburi mumanishatu sayukta kritsna karma krit. One who sees inaction in action. In other words, devotees are not particularly active as far as material advancement, getting into the rat race, keeping up with the Joneses. They see all that as jugglery of names, of no more significance than the foam, which is a byproduct of sea waves on the beach. They don't care to waste their time in terms of accumulating temporary assets. And so the whole world is moving under the allure of the Lord's external energy. But the devotees are not hypnotized, they're not entranced by the Lord's external energy. Their sights are higher. They're aiming for the lotus feet of the Lord, which are like the sun in the sky. They don't care to cover themselves with darkness. When there's a beautiful summer midday sun, you want to expose yourself to it. That sun will get rid of bacteria, get rid of diseases and viruses. That sun will give you radiant health. People in India for thousands and thousands of years have worshipped the sun in order to enjoy strength, vigor, vitality, and long life. And so one wants to take full advantage of the sun. But the whole world, it's as if they were had the sun above, shining liberally on them, offering all of its benefits to them. But it's almost like every single person is just taking a blanket and covering themselves with a blanket and walking around covered by a blanket. So although the sun's there, it's freely available to everyone. They're getting shriveled, they're getting white, they're getting pale, they're coughing, they're not living very long. And all this is because they're covered. Naham prakasha sarvasha yoga maya saman mudo yam namade naham tebyo manage. They're foolish and uninformed about the higher spiritual energy. All they know is what's in front of their face. Matter, earth, air, fire, water, and then the more subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So due to ignorance, due to a lack of transcendental knowledge, people don't achieve what it is they were created and what it is they were meant to achieve. They're flying at a very, very low level, if they could be said to be flying at all. Well, let's alter that, say they're crawling when they could be flying up with the eagles in the higher atmosphere. So we see all this busyness in the material world as a waste of time. The mouse is busy. He's running here and there, absorbed. He's got his nose to the ground looking for crumbs. But if he were to look up, he would see the black snake hovering above him, poised to strike. The black snake is just biding its time. We talked yesterday about how Nrsimhadev burst out of the pillar and engaged Hiranyakashipu in a fight. The fight didn't end as quickly as it could have. Nrsimhadev's all-powerful. The power of Hiranyakashipu was limited. Nrsimhadev could have knocked him out like Tyson in the first round. But he played him along. He strung him along. He played with him like a cat plays with a mouse. He sees it out. He could end it at any time, but he enjoyed the competition, the rivalry. Another fact is that he had to wait until twilight in order to comply with the boon of Lord Brahma. And so he fought with Hiranyakashipu for some time, and Hiranyakashipu thought, oh, this guy isn't so strong, He's not as tough as he looks, A couple times it even seemed like Hiranyakashipu was getting the upper hand on Nrsimha. So he was getting a little confident, thinking, well, I might have a chance after all. Man, if I could only just kill him and then kill Prahlad, I would have no more thorns in my side. I would be able to double and redouble and triple my oppression of the earth, exploit them even more than I am now, squeeze out of them more and more and more and more. Starting to think like this, getting his confidence back, getting a little cocky. That was all an illusion. It was allowed by the Lord. So the Lord could bide his time and then comply with the boons of Lord Brahma and kill. So when the time came, he didn't waste any. It was just like immediately. He just took Hiranyakashipu on his lap and bifurcated him as a child would bifurcate a wasp. So if we think we're gaining, if we think we're quote unquote successful, if we think we've got a leg up in the competition, that's just the Lord playing with us, like a cat plays with a mouse, or like a black snake is biding its time, poised. Little mouse is running here and there, busy, got his to-do list, got his plans, and at any moment that snake can descend and gobble him up. Similarly, death hovers over each and every one of us. Those who are devotees of the Lord, whose sights Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Param Sada Pasanti Suryo Deviva Chaksoratanam Yadvi Pashpo Panyo Jagovam Saminite Vishnu Paramam. Devotees are not mucking around on the ground looking for the crumbs of material life, but they're upright. You hear in some of the old scriptures how a man was upright. And we take that to mean he was pious, he was honest, he was righteous, he was God-centered. But literally, he was upright. His vision wasn't down on the ground where all of our problems and stumbling blocks and obstacles arise. His vision was up on the Lord. I read a book one time about race car drivers. I think it was called Driving in the Rain. The trick when you're driving in competitive racing on a track in the rain is not to look at the track right in front of you. You have to look at where you want to be. You have to look past the curve, past the danger, and then automatically your reflexes will adjust. You'll be able to drive in such a way that you won't go out of control. You won't lose traction on the slippery, cantilevered track as you go around the corner. You look out ahead at where you want to be, and your mind automatically makes the calculations and adjustments. Actually, the super soul is within the heart of all living beings. So we're basically, as the tiny entity, seated as on a machine. Ishvara sarvabhutanam rida sardana brahmanan yantarudrani maya. We're just passengers. We're seated on the machine of this material body. So if you're passenger in the body of a race car driver inside of a race car, and you want to get through the turn without crashing and burning, you ask the Supreme Lord, you say to the Lord, you say, Lord, I'm looking at the other side of the turn. I'm going into the turn now. I'm going into the danger. There is a potential for disaster and destruction, but I'm not looking at the problem. I'm looking at my God. I'm looking at where I would like you to take me. I'm looking at the other side, having come out of the turn, and you will have got me through the danger. And then the super soul, by focusing upwards and outwards and onwards, the super soul then complies with the desires of the living being according to its piety or lack of it, or however the karma of the living being sets up. The super soul then will fulfill the desire of the living being and get them through the danger. But if you rely on your own resources, on your own skills and your own abilities, and you look right in front of you where the track is slick with precipitation and moisture, then you're going to start into a spin and end up crashing on the side of the track. The whole point is Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Param. See those lotus feet of Krishna. Look up to them just like you'd look up to the sun and the sky on the summer months and glean from that sun all the benefits of its sunshine. That's how one sees inaction in action, and then action in action. The materialist thinks the devotees are wasting their time, but the devotees are the ones who are actually moving progressively forward, back to home, back to God. And Janma Karma Medivyam, 9th verse, 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, Janma Karma Medivyam evam yoviti tatviraha tatvam dehar pranad janma neti mamita. Who spends the valuable human form of life and one's God-given intellect to try and understand how it is that Krishna's appearance and activities, his Janma Karma, are not ordinary. They're not even extraordinary. Krishna is not just a special, empowered, gifted human being. No, he is transcendental. He's not a byproduct of matter. He is the transcendental autocrat. He is that singularity from which all spiritual material energies come. Aham sarvasya prabhu matas sarvam parvartate iti madhva buddha bhavisam. He says, I am the source of everything. From me all material and spiritual worlds emanate. And one who dedicates the valuable minutes, days, weeks, and hours of one's human form of life to understanding how it is that the appearance and activities of the Lord are transcendental. The fruit of that endeavor is Janma Karmane Neti Mamiti Sarjanam. Okay, we took this birth. There's nothing we can do to change that. Any living being who ever took a material body had to die. Jatasya hidvavo duvavana. With birth, there's death. And in most cases, when there's death, there's birth again, because people fail to wean themselves of material covetousness. But the exception, Manushyaram, the 1 in 1,000 and 1,000 and 1,000 and 1,000 and 1,000, who seeks to solve the problems of birth, death, disease, and old age, becomes a devotee, practices devotional service, and tastes the full fruit of love of God within their heart, that person will never again take another material body. They will, like all of us, have to leave the current material body when their time comes. But the difference between those who have spent their time, invested their time in Krishna consciousness, and those who have failed to do so, is that the Krishna conscious person will not again take birth in another material body, but sane, sober, situated on the solid foundation of the absolute truth, that devotee will go back to home, back to Godhead, never again to return to this place of birth and death. Now, that is action in an action. Such a person, in the Bhagavad Gita says, is intelligent among men, is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. The Lord is transcendental. We're originally transcendental, but we got distracted. We got sidetracked by matter, some or other. We've been entangled in this material world for who knows how many incarnations. But now the medicine has come. Enechyo Shoda Maya Nashibara Harinama Sankirtanam. Now we got the medicine from the expert physician, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and with the application of that medicine, with the regular and sincere and attentive chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we regain our original transcendental nature, our original transcendental form. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we quoted this verse yesterday. Prapanchit Tatya Buddhi, Hari Sambhana Vastu, Mumukshagoi Paritiram, Vairagyum, Falgu Katayate. There are those who conceive of the absolute truth as impersonal. It some or other goes against their grain, their nature, to surrender to a higher supreme being. They'd rather think of themselves as God. And so their meditation is to distance themselves from the material world, to be aloof from the activities of the mouse-like population in general. There was a movie when I was a kid, Far from the Madding Crowd. The crowd is madding. That means it's frenetic, it's engaged, it's busy with no tangible purpose to be achieved. And madding is a abbreviation for maddening. Who can said to be sane? Who prostitutes the valuable human form of life in order to get the same pleasures that are freely available to the hogs and dogs. How can that person, any way you look at it, or that society, that culture, be considered to be sane? So the devotees do not renounce or think of this world as false. They do not give up work. Rather, as we discussed yesterday, they work in devotion. It says, when persons eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to the Supreme Personality of God and thinking of the material, their renunciation is called incomplete. Painting everything with the same brush, those who are impersonalists, relegate the pastimes, the activities, the name, fame, form, and paraphernalia of Krishna to the mundane. They lump Krishna pastimes, Krishna Leela, in with the Leelas of historical kings and queens and extraordinary personalities. And they themselves think of themselves as spirit. They think of spirit, ineffable, undifferentiated, homogeneous spirit, as the only true reality. And any place you find variety and individuality and personality, that's false. Their motto is Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Only ineffable spiritual energy is true, and wherever we see forms, variety, personality, that is an illusion. That is dreamland. The conclusion of Srila Rupa Goswami is that sort of renunciation is called incomplete. Failing to see the Lord as being separate and at the same time non-separate from his material creation is the last pitfall of the transcendentalists. One should factually understand that the Lord, his name, form, fame, and past have nothing to do with this material creation. Atmaramas Timona Nagrantika Korvanti Itam Bhuta Ganahari, to relegate the extraordinary, transcendental, super excellent pastimes of Krishna that he performed during the 125 years of his sojourn here on the planet 5,300 years ago, to that of the mundane, is to make a critical mistake on the path of transcendence. Rather, one should know that not only is Krishna not mundane, but actually the mundane world emanates from Krishna. Its source is Krishna himself. And therefore, everything belongs to Krishna. There is nothing separate from Krishna. There is only Krishna, 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 Krishna. This example is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yata mukad vishpugam namad vapi shishambhavra api atma vimana yatagnir pritak omakat. We can describe the fire in terms of flames. We can describe the fire in terms of sparks. We can describe the fire in terms of smoke. Certainly there are those three attributes of the fire. However, nobody in their right mind thinks of any of those as separate from the fire. The smoke is not separate from the fire. The sparks are not separate from the fire. The flames are not separate from the fire. They're all fire. Similarly, the absolute truth has three features. Vedanti tat tatvam tatvam yaskin brahmiti paramatmiti bhagavaniti sabdyate. He is, in his original form, the source of all material and spiritual worlds. That's like the flame. He has his inferior material energy, which is temporary, as opposed to his eternal spiritual energy. That's like the smoke. And then emanating from the Lord are sparks, tiny jivas. You and I, we get caught up in the smoke because we're not of the same level as the blazing flame, but we're only byproducts of that flame, tiny sparks, not equal in power to the flame. The possibility is there for the sparks to get mixed up in the smoke, and being enveloped and covered with the smoke, it may come to pass that the spark can no longer see the flame from which it comes. And yet, the flame, which is compared to the Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, the smoke, which is compared to this material world, and the sparks, which are compared to you and I, the living entities who inhabit material bodies in this material world, it's all fire, isn't it? It's all fire. At the end of the day, it's all fire. So Krishna is the source of everything, like the flame. He's the source of the material energy, and he's the source of us, the living beings. Therefore, although we differentiate on one level, flames, sparks, and smoke, on another level, it's all fire. It is nothing but fire. Similarly, whether Krishna is in his original form or whether he's in his energy as matter or whether he's manifested through the spark-like living beings who come from him, who originate in him, it's all Krishna. There's nothing separate from Krishna. So you can't renounce Krishna and be well situated on the transcendental platform. You just can't do it because you're Krishna in a sense. You're a sample Krishna, just like the spark is the fire, and at the same time it's not the fire. So we are Krishna in the sense that we're eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, but we're also not Krishna in the sense that we're not all-powerful, but he is all-powerful. So everything is Krishna, and only one is renounced who sees nothing as separate from Krishna. Arjuna asked the question to Krishna, which is better? Sannyasyastu mahabho dukamapta yoga yuktamadam nacharina digachati. Which is better? To renounce work, thinking of everything as material, and only spirit is true, or is it better to work in devotion? Krishna unequivocally answers Arjuna, Sannyasya dukam aptama yogataham. To renounce work is difficult, troublesome. Klesho dikada avyakta chedashe shisham. It's very difficult for an embodied soul to give up work and to become passive, because we've all been created with a certain nature. The Lord is a personality in spades. The Lord is energetic. The Lord is sentient. So how can we, as emanations from him, lack energy, sentiency, desires, appetites, ambitions? We're chock-a-block full of them because we're coming from the Lord, who has his individual personality. So it's very difficult to do nothing, to take yourself off the board, to go out of the game and sit on the sidelines. Of course, if you're in the game and you get hit and your bell gets rung and you get taken out on a stretcher, that's one thing. But you don't want to permanently stay out of the game. Any player worth his salt wants to shake it off and get right back into the game, because that's where it's at. The challenge, the interaction, the becoming, the progress, which can only be attained in the game itself, in the fray, in the challenge, in the fight, moving forward towards the goal, towards the end zone, towards the spiritual world. You can't sit on the sidelines and get any satisfaction or fulfillment whatsoever. The impersonalists get beat up by material interactions. They get hurt and burned with interpersonal relationships. The material world is temporary, and therefore all of their desires for permanent happiness and comfort in this material world turn to ashes. They're full of frustration. And then they exhibit the sour grapes symptom. The fox was jumping up. The grapes looked so good, but he couldn't jump high enough to get the grapes. He gave up the endeavor, and then as he was walking away, he said the grapes are probably sour anyway. So the impersonalists tried, like anything, just like everybody else, to enjoy God's property separate from God. He failed to do that. And then he walks away and says, well, it wasn't worth it anyway, because he couldn't become God. That's the sour grape syndrome. It says, Yanayad vindaksha vimuktimanaya tvayashtad bhavishu aroha kachena param param patantyadho nadvita yajnad amagraha. You know what our prediction is? For someone who wants to give up work, who wants to zone out in the impersonal Brahmajyoti energy of the Lord. You know what our prediction is? You're just going to get bored. You're going to get bored, isn't it? You're going to get bored. Say you're sick. Let's say you've got COVID. So you have to go into the hospital for a period of inactivity while you recover. But even the doctors say the sooner you become active, the sooner you're going to recover. You can't just sit and do nothing. My wife's had 2 hip replacements. And the amazing thing is, the day of the operation, folks, the afternoon of the operation, sounds cruel, sounds heartless and inhumane, but they get the patient up and walking the day of the operation. And the next day, whoa, mama, when those pain meds are starting to wear off, you feel like you've been run over by a train. Guess what? They come and get you up. They drag you up and they take you to the physical therapy room. Because they've discovered that the quicker you get up, the quicker you get mobile and active again, the quicker you're going to get back to your normal lifestyle. It's only a loser. It's only a failure that because you got pandemic or because you had a hip replacement, because you got a little boo-boo, you're just going to sulk and you're going to sit and do nothing and you're going to feel sorry for yourself. That is the Mayavadi. That is the impersonalist. Boo-hoo, poor me. But the devotees are those who want to get back into the game as soon as possible. Sure, this material world is full of hard knocks. It's not any different for devotees than it is for non-devotees. But the devotees know that beyond this material world, beyond this world of brokenness, temporariness, and birth, death, disease, and old age, there's an eternal spiritual world. And we want to always keep moving towards that. And devotional service is never inactive. And those who try to take themselves out of the game, to sideline themselves, to merge or become one of the favorite analogies of the impersonalists is they compare us to a drop of ocean water. Some or other we got separated, but the whole goal is to go back and merge and become one with the ocean. That means they're tired of being individuals. They're tired of sentiency. They're tired of goals and ambitions, and they just want to give it up. They just want to die in essence. And what happens after attaining oneness with the energy of the Lord? What happens is that one becomes bored. There's nothing to do when you become one with the Brahmajyoti of the Lord. You're meant for doing things. You're uniquely created for achievements. You want to put a smile on the face of the Lord. Just like every child wants to please their father and their mother. That's the ultimate satisfaction and pleasure. If they can coax a smile out of their mother and father while they're going down the slide or playing in the sandbox or catching the ball or kicking the ball, their life is completely fulfilled. The prediction is that for those who try to achieve liberation from the sufferings of the material world, and at the same time neglect the Ravindaksha, the lotus-eyed Lord, they can rise to a certain degree on the strength of their penance and austerities, but for want of shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arakachena Padam Padam, because they have failed to grasp onto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Patanti Adho Nadrita Yajnad Anagraha. After hovering for some time on this mental plane, they lose their enthusiasm, lose their momentum, they become bored, and they fall back down to this material world. And generally speaking, they get engaged in humanitarian, altruistic activities. Example is given. We're working in the factory, and we save up our money, and we look forward to getting in the airplane and going somewhere different. Maybe we've got a vacation in Hawaii coming. So we're working hard. Maybe up to the last minute when we have to leave for the airport, we're taking care of stopping the deliveries of the newspaper and make sure the oven's turned off. All these things, and we're just in time to catch the plane. We've been busy for weeks and months and years. It's been crazy. It's been like a roller coaster, and now all we want to do is just get on that plane seat and sit and let that plane carry us somewhere. We get down there, and I have to go through security, and that's stressful. That's a hassle. We have to get into the boarding area in time. We have to make sure that we find the right seat and put our seatbelt on and say something nice to the person to the right of us and left to us. And then we're so relieved. Oh gosh, now I don't have to do anything for a change for an hour or 2 hours of this flight. And that's fine. And they come along with some ginger ale and some peanuts. But after an hour, your back starts to ache. The air is stuffy. Start to get a little headache. It's uncomfortable. You don't have enough room. You didn't get an aisle seat for your long legs. You want to go to the bathroom, but the two people between you and the aisle are sleeping, and you don't want to disturb them, so you're just trying to hold it. After a while, that initial relief wears off, and you start to think, man, when are we going to land? How much longer do I have to sit up here in this tin can in the sky, we can't wait. We're itching to get back down on the ground. It's the same way. We are living beings. We're wired to work. We have certain talents and abilities. We need to dovetail those in the service of the Lord. Namam karmani limpatina me karma phala iti mamyam karma birna sabhadyate. Krishna is transcendental. Krishna really has nothing to do with this material world. He appears within the material world, but he's not a byproduct of matter. Same thing can be said of us. We appear within the material world, but because we're not of the same power as the Lord, we get entrapped by this other energy. We're one energy of the Lord. Material nature is another energy of the Lord. The energetic source of both those energies can never be conditioned or entrapped by his own energies. But one energy, the jiva, the spirit souls, can be enveloped, eclipsed, and overwhelmed by the other energy. And that's our position. Krishna baliya se jiva bahirati ataiva maya tari deha samsara dukkha. We, as one energy of the Lord, became enamored with the other energy of the Lord, and thus we assumed these material bodies and got entangled. So just as working with a wrong concept, thinking that we're separate or independent from the Lord, got us into this fix, into this revolution of birth, death, disease, and old age. Renouncing work will not bring liberation. Rather, we have to continue to work, but instead of working self-centeredly, instead of working under the illusory concept of this body, this family, this country, this species, we need to continue working, but we need to work in Krishna consciousness. We need to work in devotion, not to renounce work, but to work in devotion. The example is given, if you overindulge in milk products, you can get sick. It's hard to digest milk. So if you eat too much milk or drink too much milk, especially if it's cold milk, you can get sick. Now the cure for that is milk in a different form. If you take milk in the form of yoga, it will solve your digestive problems. So similarly, work in illusion and ignorance is the cause of all our misery and suffering. But that same work, when it's God-centered, when it's directed towards the satisfaction of Vishnu, that brings about our liberation. Kapil Dev in 4th canto of Bhagavatam tells his mother, Pashagama janam kashum atmano kav saiva shri moksha dwaram upavritam. He says that work in self-consciousness, work in material consciousness, is the greatest cause of entanglement for the living being. However, work in devotion, moksha dwaram upavritam. The door, moksha dwaram, the door to liberation, the door to freedom from birth, death, disease, is flung, literally flung wide open when we change the object of our work. When we decide not for self so-called satisfaction, but for Krishna satisfaction. When we see everything in this material world, including ourselves, our family members, our country, co-members of our species, other living beings, as all non-different from Krishna. Flames, sparks, smoke, but bottom line, all fire. It's all Krishna. Krishna manifests himself, different ways, shapes, and forms. But just as flames, smoke, and sparks all come from the fire, they are the fire, in as much as they're non-different from the fire, they're the energies of the fire. Similarly, everything is Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Prabhupada says, one whose mind is always fixed, tesham satata yuktanam, dadami buddhi yoganam, who is always fixed on Krishna, whose all of one's works, endeavors, and energies are aimed towards the satisfaction of Krishna, dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam. Such a one gets the full benefit of my blessings, benefits of my favor. I, from within their heart, shine the torchlight of knowledge, illuminate all the dark crevices and corners of ignorance, and give the living being such direction, guide their footsteps in such a way that they can go back home, back to God. And although they may be engaged in all sorts of work, devotees don't just sit in the temple chanting on their beads, waving incense. That's certainly a very high, pure form of work. But devotees raise family. They're housemakers, homemakers. They're computer experts. They're car mechanics. They're artists. They're gardeners, like our friend Rob, who comes to us from a greenhouse in Draper as we speak. There's no occupation that you can't turn it to God-centeredness. Joshua works in a wood cabining shop, and he always listens with his earbuds to Radio Krishna throughout the day. In his previous work, he had his own little corner of a big factory, and he used to play out loud on a radio Krishna conscious songs so that the other workers could hear the Maha Mantra and the stories from the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. Rob's at work right now. He's growing things. He's planting Krishna's seeds and putting Krishna's water on the seeds and letting Krishna's sun shine on the seeds and nourish them. Krishna's earth gives strength to those seeds. At the same time, he's listening very faithfully Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to our podcast, this transmission. He was at the temple last night for the Nrsimha festival. It's just a matter of changing your consciousness. You don't have to change your work, change your family, change your situation. You just have to change your consciousness. And sometimes that means changing the people that you hang out with also. Satsange Tyage Vaishnava Sri Sange Ashadu Krishna Bhakta Ara. Krishna conscious person is interested only in hearing topics relating to Krishna. A Krishna consciousness person is interested only in eating food which is cruelty-free and offered to Krishna. A Krishna consciousness person does not want to see any movie which is not connected with Krishna. A Krishna conscious person does not want to read any book which is not connected with Krishna. A Krishna conscious person does not want to go anywhere where Krishna is involved. So it may be necessary, after stumbling under Krishna consciousness as a neophyte and wanting to make advancement in Krishna consciousness, you might have to take a close look, not only at the books you read, the food you eat, the movies you watch, but the people that you hang around with. The first symptom of advancement in Krishna consciousness, asat sange tyage vaishnava, sri sange ekasha, Krishna bhaktara. One gradually, not that one stops loving people, but one recognizes that their season in your life is done. Ultimately, they've reached a point where beyond which they're not going. Where you're going, they're not going to be able to go just at this point in time. So we start to love them, but from a distance. Start to pick and choose those with whom we spend time, those by whom we're influenced, and substitute the non-Krishna conscious movies, books, food, and friends for Krishna conscious friends. Because devotees want only Krishna, they see only Krishna. Nothing phenomenal or noumenal is separate from Krishna. Someone asked the question, in fact, many Hindus say, why only Krishna? Why are you guys so radical? Why are you guys so narrow-minded? No, because Krishna is the source of everything. If you love Krishna, you love everyone. If you water the root of the tree, someone may say, well, why the root? Why are you guys so rigid, fixed, insistent on watering the root? Because that's how it's done. You water the root. And in watering the root, you nourish all the plants, flowers, and leaves and branches. That's the way it's done. You don't water. They say, well, why do you have to be so narrow-minded? Why don't you just be liberal and water the twigs and water the flowers and water the branches? Because the tree's going to die. You're not going to get the nourishment where it needs to go by watering the twigs and fruits. And you have to water the root of the tree. Prabhupada says, well, not Prabhupada, but people say, well, why only Krishna? Why not Krishna and the demigods? Or why not Krishna and so on and so forth? Because the demigods are only part of Krishna. You can't worship the part and get to the whole. We put food in the mouth. There are other holes. And I suppose theoretically you could put food in one of the other holes, like the ear or the eyes, or stuff it up your nostril. But it's not going to nourish the body. Only when you put food through the mouth, yata turu mulana sechana tat skandi panopaharachya ten tataivam achudritame jeda. Only when you put food in the mouth is the stomach going to be satisfied and then the body nourished. So we're not making it up. We're not just saying that because we believe it, it has to be true. Krishna consciousness is not made up. It's not imagined. It's not a function of anybody's individual or collective ego. Krishna consciousness is based on the words of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, the body of work, which is Vyasadeva, who compiled the Vedas, and the Summum Bonum, the Vedanta Sutra, and ultimately the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's based on Narada Muni. Param Brahma, Param Dhamma is Arjuna's conclusion after listening to 10 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. There's still 8 more chapters to go. But Arjuna can't hold himself back. He can't stop himself. He's so full of nectar. He's so energized. He didn't want to fight. He didn't want to work. But now after hearing little more than half of the Bhagavad Gita, he can't wait. He's just ready to burst out of the sardine gate. He sees the difference between renouncing work and devotion. He sees Krishna everywhere. Krishna's words have dispelled any laziness, lethargy, or shadow of ignorance. And he says, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Povitam, Purusham Sasaram, Adidev Majambaram. Krishna, you are the supreme spirit. You are the supreme abode. You are the supreme spirit. You are the supreme shelter. He says, not only do I say this, Ahush Tramrisha Devashir Asito Deva Shayam Chava Bravi. It is the conclusion of all scriptures, of all compilers of the scriptures, of all saints and all sages, that you, Krishna, are the one supreme personality of Godhead, and nothing, no other type of worship or service achieves the full effect as does devotional service, bhakti yoga. It's like watering the root of the tree as opposed to the flowers, branches, and leaves. All the great saints and all the great demigods, they stress the particular effect. They emphasize above and beyond all other areas of human activity that everything should be done in relationship with the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. There is nothing in existence except the Lord is the universal conclusion of all scriptures, of all saints and all sages. So people say, why Krishna? Shruti Shmiti Paranadi Panchadikarikanam Aikantikira Bhakti Patiyavika. Why Krishna? Because all scriptures, all saints, all sages, they all confirm that Krishna is the root of everything. And worship of Krishna cannot be compared to worship of demigods or any other living beings. Krishna is the stomach. Krishna is the root. So as much as feeding the stomach nourishes the whole body, as much as watering the root of the tree nourishes the whole tree, similarly, Krishna worship and only Krishna worship, that one endeavor fulfills all other purposes. A concluding statement here by Srila Prabhupada says, Vyasadeva, in the last analysis, having compiled the Vedic literatures, finding himself incomplete and despondent, then being approached by his guru Narada Muni, encouraged to describe the spotless glories of the Lord. It is said that up to that point of penning the pure Amala Param, the spotless Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva, in fact, had done a disservice to humanity in general by suggesting that any other type of endeavor could in any way be compared to or equivalent to devotional service of the Lord. We'll finish with this statement by Srila Prabhupada. Vyasadeva should not have compiled any other Puranas than the Bhagavad Purana, because even a slight deviation from the principle of pure devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead has the potential to create havoc on the path of self-realization. If a slight deviation can cause confusion and havoc, then what to speak of the deliberate expansion of ideas separate from the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The most defective part of worshiping demigods is it creates a definite conception of pantheism, ending disastrously in many religious sects, detrimental to the progress of the principles of pure devotion, which alone can give the accurate direction for self-realization in eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in transcendental love. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We'll continue this discussion of how authorized, of how scripturally endorsed are all the aspects of devotional service, bhakti yoga. We may appear to be sentimentalists, chanting and dancing, only have eyes for Krishna. We may appear to be minimizing the stature of others, but our defense is that all the great saints and sages have done exactly what we've done. All the scriptures come to exactly the same conclusion. We're not making it up. We're simply following the footsteps of those who've achieved love of God, gotten successful in their endeavors, and gone back to home, back to God. More on that next Monday. I got so excited about the subject matter that we've gone pretty much an entire hour. Are you there, still connected to Krishna in the greenhouse, Rob? You have any concluding words for us this morning?
I am still here, still connected, and thank you so much for the song and for allowing me to be a part of this. Yeah, so we all have gifts and skills that we're given in this life, and if we don't want to get bored, we need to use them for the glory and praise of Krishna. and bring him enjoyment through how we use our skills and gifts that he's given us.
Would you say
And
that since
yeah,
coming on Krishna consciousness a year or so ago, your life is a lot less boring than it used to be?
yeah, and it's a lot more purpose filled. Like striving for monetary gain, materialistic gain, um, only takes you so far. But when there's a higher reason and a higher power that you're doing it for, it gives you a lot more gratification and satisfaction in what you're doing, at least in my opinion and experience.
Everybody would agree with what you're talking about getting a higher power, but we're going to talk more on this subject that it has to be authorized. You can't make up your own purpose. You can't make up your own higher endeavor. You can't accept it from those who are not self-realized. And so our our focus point, our launching pad, the place from which we begin is the bona fides of Scripture and the pristine, sterling example of great saints and sages who have achieved perfect, pure Krishna consciousness, gone back to home, back to God. So we're going to stress the bona fides of the bhakti path starting next Motivational Monday. Is that okay?
Absolutely great by me.
All right. Thank you. Gosh, we've got a lot of great comments here. And stars, William's thumbs are working overtime. Be careful you don't get banned again by Facebook, William, for all the stars and hearts you're putting out there. You better back off a little bit because we don't want you to get banned. Yeah, there he goes. He's listening to me. So Britta says striving for material gain is too high a price. You have to pay with your soul. Exactly. You're trading your soul for bits and pieces of glass. Some of the wealthiest people I know, oops, another comment came on and Britta went, yeah, are in abject poverty spiritually. Indeed. Ali says, human interaction often creates drama, but we are all responsible for our own actions and discipline. So true. William says we are planting seeds today, flowers and vegetables. George says, Govinda Dev says, thanks, True, for his relentless crusade to spread Krishna. I am pretty relentless, aren't I? I mean, it's all I can do to stop. Just want to go on and on and on and on. Madhava Das, the live feed keeps getting interrupted. Let me check our internet connection. No, we've got a strong connection. We've got a strong CenturyLink connection, so I'm sorry. I don't know why it's getting interrupted. Ali says, every part is responsible to the whole, but if each part takes itself away, the whole suffers. Very insightful. Very insightful. Jai Sri Radhe, sometimes in hospitals they put food in a feeding tube in the stomach or through a needle, but that never satisfies the tongue or mind. That's a good example. I'm gonna talk about intravenous feeding next time we touch upon this subject. William, yes, he says, do a Krishna cookbook. There's so many Krishna cookbooks already. There's like any number of Krishna cookbooks. Yeah. Go to many times it is a senior devotee. I don't want to do negative things here. Okay, here's a longer comment. We're trying to. I like your comments, Jayesh Uradi, but I'm not sure if they're meant for public. You should text me separately. Ram Kishore says, I have distributed hundreds of books at work. People are curious and they ask questions very easy. Yes. There's a natural attraction for Krishna consciousness, provided we're good examples. With a smile on our face and all our activities engaged in for the satisfaction of the Lord, who would not want to know more about what makes the devotees ticks? Bridget says, how much better this material world would be if everyone could treat one another, brother and sister, spirit souls of the one Father. Sri Krishna, I guess that's been our human dilemma throughout all of history, being confused by me, mine, something just jumped up, my family, my stuff, not true friends. None of it belongs to us. George says, and get so entangled that there's no awareness of the entanglement. Well, isn't that true? So entangled, we're not even aware of how entangled we become unconscious automatons. George says he knows from the experience. Wonderful comments. I encourage everyone to flip through these comments. I don't think I can even read all of them. gosh, if I've inspired that much thoughtfulness on the heart of those listening, my day is off to a good start. Thank you so much. We're over the hour slot time, and I'm sure you all have Krishna conscious endeavors to get to, so I won't hold you up any further, except to say thank you very much for having been with us. Motivational Monday, Nishringadev Tuesday, and Wisdom Wednesday. I'll look forward to the next time we jump on Zoom Sangha together. In the meantime, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.